Madam Speaker, I rise in support of the objection.
Gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes.
It's with great pride and profound sense of responsibility that I object to the 2020 election in the state of Pennsylvania. I'm very proud to stand alongside fellow patriots who have pushed back against a fraudulent and criminal election process, a process that was the antithesis to the very rule of law that governs these United States. At the same time, standing here tonight is surreal because this is a critical juncture that will undoubtedly determine the survivability of this great republic. Our free and fair election process, and by extension, the people's trust and legitimacy, is what has separated us as a nation, a process that we've shared with the world its moral force, a process that now sadly has been bastardized by those more interested in the maintenance of power than they are in the free and open voice of the American people. If I remember correctly, Democrats were calling for transparency in 2000 and 2004 when George W. Bush was elected, and again in 2016 when President Trump took office. Where are you now? I ask this: what do you have to lose by having a thorough investigation to determine the validity of these votes? Why not encourage an investigation to relieve the concerns of half the people in this country? If you are so convinced that Biden was elected legitimately, what do you have to fear? If there was no fraud, simply show us the proof, investigate it, validate it. This isn't about one candidate versus another. This is about upholding the principles that are indispensable to the existence of the democratic republic that we are so fortunate to call home. I have no doubt that there was widespread election fraud this past November, and I am not alone. I stand here today speaking for 75 million Americans whose voice was unconstitutionally silenced. To you, the silenced, I say this: I will continue to fight for you. You have been heard. For more than 240 years, tyranny has sought to extinguish the light of freedom. As Ronald Reagan said before, freedom is a fragile thing. It is never more than one generation away from extinction. The Constitution and the Bible on which it stands is stronger than the cheap, tyrannical tactics of those who seek to destroy it. And I yield back to the gentleman, Mr. Budd from North Carolina.
I thank my friend from Texas. You know, mob violence is not representative of our country or of this building. The American people, at least the ones that are still up watching right now, they have seen this body return to a peaceful debate. And that's the American way. So let's get back to that debate, and let's talk for a moment about Pennsylvania. For decades, absentee voting was reserved for members of the military and citizens who were medically or physically unable to get to the polls. But in 2019, Pennsylvania dramatically increased the amount of ballots that would be cast in the presidential election through expanded, no-excuse mail-in voting. On September 17th, Pennsylvania's Democrat-controlled Supreme Court violated the Constitution by extending the deadline to receive mail-in ballots. Article 2 states that legislatures, not the courts, determine the time, manner, and place of their state's elections. But Pennsylvania's High Court directed the state officials to assume that non-postmarked ballots were received on time, without any evidence that they were sent before Election Day. On October 23rd, while early voting was already underway, the state Supreme Court ruled that election officials did not have to authenticate signatures for mail-in ballots. To sum it up, Pennsylvania officials illegally did three critical things. One, they radically expanded vote by mail for virtually any reason. Two, they removed restrictions when a ballot could be sent in. And three, they removed signature verification on those very ballots. And just this week, the Pennsylvania Senate pleaded with members of this body to delay certification until the Supreme Court resolves these disputes. The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania violated their own Constitution. They violated the U.S. Constitution. They opened the door for thousands of unverifiable ballots. Because they failed to guarantee the integrity of their votes, I cannot consent to accepting Pennsylvania's electoral votes.